Hello folks! Do you have a neighbor from Latin America? Any classmates? Someone at your job? Have you ever wondered how it got here? Today we will see the story of arrival in Canada of a family of Latin Americans. Which family? Mine. We filmed this migration story, but why would anyone bother to record everything? Well, let's go for a bit of context. This baby is Ñosda, born in Santiago, the capital of the country called Chile. Chile is South America. It is so far south, if you want to go further south, you have to go to Antarctica. This other baby is me, Polo, and I was also born in Santiago some years before. Our lives met in 2005. After 4 months we got married, and about 9 months later, Mosmi came into our lives. We were an average family. Ñosda worked as a teacher for young children, and I worked as a video editor at a TV channel. We always liked to travel, so as soon as we had the opportunity, we took Mosmi on her first trip abroad to Brazil, about 4,000 kilometers from our home, and I, as a storyteller, recorded the whole adventure to share it with friends and family. In all the subsequent trips, I shared our experience, and the videos improved. Of course, when we were able to travel to Europe, I filmed the whole tour, without imagining that this family record would go much further and become a TV show. We even did interviews on Chilean television. That's crazy, but more entertaining than appearing on TV is traveling, so we did it again. It was a month traveling through Europe, through 9 countries, and we went back to our country, but the world had changed. A global pandemic forced us to lock ourselves up without being able to travel. But it was there that the idea of starting a new adventure was born. Going to Canada. As you must also have been, we invented things to do for the confinement. That's how we did an Instagram Live to talk with our followers.
Nosotros vivimos como a 1 hora de Toronto. Y manejando son como 8 horas a Nueva York City.
We didn't know much about Canada, but these new friends told us about their experience as immigrants in this country. The next day we did a Zoom meeting of several hours, and I don't know very well how, they left us very convinced that going to live in Canada was a great idea. We had an apartment that we had just sold. With that money, we could study in Canada, which represents a way to live at least a couple of years in this country, at the other end of America. But would it be good to go there? Would this be a good place for Mosmi? We urgently needed a signal from the universe, and by those things of fate, we got it. Years ago, when we lived in that apartment, we made a wish materialization technique. In a box, we put photos of the things we wanted. Since we didn't have much money, we printed a check from any bank for $1 million to convince our mind that it was possible. And now, more than 10 years later, we discovered that it was from a bank precisely in Canada, and moreover, from the province where we are going. It was enough. We already had the support of destiny. We would try to go to Canada. The first step to go to study in an English-speaking country is speak English.
My favorite ice cream is...
And that was a point where nothing was guaranteed.
Vamos a hacer un test de prueba a ver qué tal.
In case you didn't know, the Duolingo mobile phone application to learn languages also has a test to find out your level of English. It is paid, and also has a free test that gives you a range of results.
My opinion is completely different from yours.
So I did the test and got a result, not a very encouraging result. Gniozda also did it, and the result was even less promising.
Oh, qué triste. Ese es mi problema, yo no le speaking, yo le reading nomás.
One of the two would have to study, and that would have to be me. So I dedicated myself to doing a lot of Duolingo tests, and I actually increased my results. We were looking at a college near of our friends in Canada, and we chose a career. You could get there with 110 points of the Duolingo English test, but I didn't get that result. So I started watching American movies, first with English subtitles, then without any help. The English language should have become an obsession, but gaining a few points of the Duolingo English test is not fast at all.
Estamos viendo la opción de que Ñoto haga un pathway. ¿Qué es un pathway? Preguntarán ustedes. Es como un curso de inglés que en este tiempo de COVID lo puedo hacer online. Entonces en el fondo eso te da como una vía directa para poder entrar después al college.
Esta noche voy a dar el Duolingo English Test.
The paid version, I mean. The official one. The one accepted as university and college that cost about $50.
En una de esas me rajo, o en una de esas no me rajo, pero voy a intentarlo.
Los amigos de Canadá, Rodrigo y Paulina, le regalaron a Ñoto el test de Duolingo, porque si Ñoto alcanza el puntaje, puede entrar directo a Conestoga, que es el college donde él estudiaría.
We appreciate Rod and Polly's tremendous help, and we'll tell you the result.
Llegó el resultado del examen, no me fue tan bien, o sea, me fue como tenía que irme. 90 puntos de promedio, lo que mejor me va es en comprensión, que es lo que he hecho en los últimos 20 años, leer cosas en inglés, pero conversar en inglés es mi peor punto y claro, no he conversado nada o casi nada en... nunca. Duolingo English Test es bastante acertado. Así que lo que voy a tener que hacer es aplicar un pathway. Tengo aquí 3 meses para conseguir ese resultado. No hay espacio para desanimarse. Hay que seguir adelante. ¡Boom!
And I can see a lot of faces. Some of you are turning your cameras on, some of you not. It's not really necessary for this orientation to turn your camera on, but I like to see your face.
And after doing another test, it was decided that my level in the pathway would be 3, and we had a welcome from students from all over the world.
180 alumnos.
Fortunately, the classes would be in much smaller courses.
And you're gonna have fun with your friends, with your classmates, with your teachers. You're gonna have a lot of activities to do.
It all sounded quite friendly and interesting, but let's see what will happen. I had ceased to be a student already 25 years ago, so it remained to be seen if my learning abilities were still in good standing.
Estoy a punto de comenzar mi pathway. Son 3 horas diarias de lunes a viernes. Es muy intensivo. Estoy muy nervioso. Sí, muy nervioso. Ya tengo que ingresar. Espero que funcione todo. De no dar la hora. De no decir alguna estupidez. Here we go.
Hi, Paolo.
Hi, hello.
I can't hear you yet. You're on mute. Turn your microphone on.
And well, my first intervention seems somewhat unfortunate, but the teacher seems most understanding.
I come from Chile.
Chile. Oh, look at that. We don't get students from Chile that often. Usually from Latin America, it's Brazil, Colombia, but Chile, Ecuador, that's really rare. So yeah, you're one of the few.
So began an extensive challenge. Much more complex than I ever could have imagined.
He estado totalmente estresado, agotado. 3 horas de inglés al día es too much. Tampoco podéis saltarte la regla y hablar en tu idioma porque tenemos idiomas muy distintos. Y todos tienen acentos diferentes. Es una locura.
And in the first class, I find out about the first challenge for me, dramatic. Let's go for a little context. That young man over there is me at school, and since then I have been terrified of presentations. And so it was that in my 11th grade I got a video camera, and with the help of a couple of classmates we made a video instead of our oral presentation. But that job, despite being caused by the fear of public speaking, being an unforgettable experience. Of course, I didn't do any more presentation. In the whole school, they all ended up being videos. When I got out, finally ended up studying to become a video professional, avoiding presentations forever. Well, I hoped so, because 30 years later I would have to do the presentation again, this time in English. But anyway, let's continue. Njosta trained with Duolingo, and Mosmi, who would soon have to enter a school in Canada, speak English all day, also. The exhausting classes continued, and also I was already beginning to get up and down to prepare the presentation that was approaching.
Estoy más cansado que el plomero del Titanic. No, cansadísimo, ya no doy más. Ay, entre la pega y el curso de inglés, no me separo de aquí todo el día. Más encima, hace poco me di cuenta que estoy en el Pathway 3 y que son 3. Por eso el nivel de exigencia, ¿cachai? Hay que pensar muy rápido en la forma de decir lo que quiero decir, porque no tengo las palabras para decir lo que quiero decir. Por ejemplo, si no sé decir quiero mejorar esto, tengo que decir tengo que hacer de mejor manera esto, o ya no puedo seguir haciendo mal esto, lo que tenga en mi cabeza, y eso es muy estresante. Son como las 4 de la mañana y ya no puedo dormir más. Pero no hay caso, si una vez que me despierto y me acuerdo de la cuestión ya soné. Estoy a punto de empezar una nueva clase de nuevo y no doy más. Ahora como que me fui a acostar una hora antes de la clase, hacia las 7:30 de la mañana me fui a acostar un rato para ver si podía descansar y se me caen los ojos de sueño, pero tengo la guata apretada así como de angustia, ¿no? Está muy peludo esto. No sé, la verdad es que no sé si voy a poder terminar esta cuestión. Quiero irme, no quiero seguir más haciendo esto. Pero nada, pues ya tenemos un objetivo, ¿cachai? Y yo quiero ese objetivo. Así que nada, hay que seguirnos.
And since there is no deadline that is not met, the day of the presentation arrived.
Good morning to everyone. My name is Pablo Muñoz, and I live in the planet Earth.
Let's say things by their name. They terrify me.
The Milky Way, yeah.
I mean, I'm terrified of doing them in Spanish.
And there is
So I rehearsed it thousands of times. Enough of rehearsal, and let's go to action.
Paolo, welcome.
Hello, I'm so nervous.
It's gonna be okay. If you don't feel right, we're here with you. I'm going to support you, okay?
Hello to everyone. My name is Paulo Muñoz and I'm living in the planet Earth.
And since I didn't think it was enough to speak in English, I decided to do it on a scientific topic with mathematical formulas. Great!
Thank you, Paolo. Amazing. Wonderful. This is just wonderful.
Ni se imaginan el alivio que siento después de la disertación. Estuvo realmente muy difícil. Es muy difícil comunicarse en inglés. De repente uno tiene las ideas de lo que quiere decir y tiene súper claro, pero no encuentra las palabras. Es todo un desafío.
It had only been 2 weeks out of 12, but that beginning was most complex. Now we would have to attend the 1,000 important things that also require attention in this process.
Error en el pago.
Ya, dale con la mía.
Like the first college payment.
No, si mi tarjeta no me falla.
Simplemente dar vuelta atrás. Salud.
Eres alumno de Don Estogar. Salud por eso.
Salud, chiquillos, gracias por acompañarnos en este momento tan terrible.
We pay for the first semester of the degree with the commitment to finish the English course. So we had to go forward. So we began with the filling of the Canadian government for study and work permits. An eternal process that would last many days.
Acaba de llegar una cartita de la Universidad de Conestoga. Parece que estamos locos recibiendo el pago. Parece que esto podría resultar y yo la podría cagar echándome el curso de inglés. Eso no está nada de bien.
Yeah, but let's avoid getting stuck on that. We have to keep filling out forms and getting papers, such as school grades or entering all the trips abroad, or scan the passport page by page. Days and days, filling in information. But thanks to the help of our friends, we managed to send our application for the government of Canada.
Ya no hay vuelta atrás, señores.
¡Qué alegría!
Es la cuenta regresiva ya.
¡Qué emoción!
Salud, chiquillos, muchas gracias.
Muy felices.
Oye, gracias
Muchas
por
gracias.
meternos en esto.
Sí.
Y vamos a esperar que tenemos que tomarnos los biométricos de fingerprints. Tú vas aquí a una oficina que está en Vitacura, en Las Condes, te tomas las fotos y las huellas dactilares. Y con eso, como que ya es el último paso para que te aprueben los permisos.
Now we had to wait for our appointment to take the biometrics, while of course continuing with the English course, which could not stop. We even went to the beach, while I continued writing an essay day and night. Over time I understood how the course worked and my grades went up. Sometimes later, we would go to the south of Chile, but I had to continue in classes. Even there I had to give another presentation in English.
There is my agenda at the beginning.
The thing could not stop, and of course, the breaks became spectacular. We returned to Santiago and the classes continued until, almost without noticing, we realized that the time of the pathway was over.
Estoy a punto de comenzar la primera clase del día lunes, tal vez de la última semana.
If I didn't get the grades necessary to pass the course, I would have to continue in classes until I did. But, to make a long story short, I did it.
No lo puedo creer, logré la cuestión. Pensé que no iba a terminar jamás. 3 meses. No puedo creer que lo haya logrado. No lo puedo creer. Increíble. La primera semana yo me iba a ir. Recordemos, Pablo Locutor. La verdad es que no sé si voy a poder terminar esto. Quiero irme, no quiero seguir más haciendo esto. Todo parecía indicar que este día no llegaría jamás.
I did have a couple of days of classes and some evaluations out there, and the last days, for those things of fate, coincided with the appointment for the biometrics. So just I thought that this particular day should be big.
¡Te pasaste! Manso baño. No, esto está finísimo, ñaña.
And that's how I had my last learning day.
Vaya, terminé mi curso de inglés.
Moments of pure happiness.
¿Qué está haciendo ahí?
Me había escondido de ti.
¿Para asustarme? Sí. ¿Y qué pasó ahora?
No, pero no me grabé, qué vergüenza.
Okay, enough kidding. It's time to biometrics.
Ya vimos los biométricos. El ñodo les va a contar cómo nos fue.
Es súper loco.
The biometrics are pretty simple. It takes your fingerprints and photos of your face. But in times of pandemic, asking for an appointment became very difficult because it suspended them all the time. For that reason was so exciting. It was the last step of this process. Now, something completely different and out of control was coming.
Una vez que haces el biométrico, y ahí ellos toman la decisión de aceptarte o no. O sea, que lo que hay que hacer ahora es sentarse a esperar el resultado.
Expect. But But wait, how long? Some can wait a week, other a couple of months. But how long would we have to wait?
Todos los días, unas 3 veces al día. Voy a revisar a ver si hay alguna novedad del gobierno canadiense. No pasa nada, no pasa nada.
And what are we going to do in the meantime?
First to fight, we have never lost a war.
Watch more movies in English. Visit a Canadian supermarket virtually.
Estos son diferentes tipos de pescado.
Yeah.
Hear more experiences from other migrants.
Al final lo que nosotros hicimos, por suerte no tuvimos que vender nada, solo pedimos.
We had to get rid of a whole house, but we couldn't start doing that without getting the answer from the Canadian government.
Una noche más revisando la cuestión.
Ahí estamos, ñoña. A ver. No.
Couldn't throw away some things. It is that they accumulate so much when there is space to accumulate them.
Yo he encontrado un tesoro. Yo era fanática de Chino Río. Y toda mi mesada me la gastaba en revistas y en los diarios y todo lo compraba. Y encontré los cuadernos que pensaba que estaban perdidos.
In case you didn't know, Marcelo Ríos was a Chilean tennis player who reached the #1 ranking, a star of Chilean sport. We can also take photos to sell things from the house. Do not sell them yet, but at least take photos.
¿Y cuándo, ñoña?
Monte.
Para poder irse a vivir a Canadá hay que alivianar la maleta. Entre esas, una de las cosas que no va a ir son las bolitas de Iván Torres.
Son muy bonitas, pero tenemos que despedirnos de ellas lamentablemente. Siempre sufre cuando lo sacamos. La otra vez lo sacamos al veterinario porque tenía una herida súper fuerte y también se quejó todo el rato. No sabemos cómo lo vamos a hacer cuando vayamos a Canadá. ¿Y cuántas horas son en avión? 10 horas en avión con el Iván así.
Ya fue descocado. Está medio desorientado todavía.
Otro día más sin respuesta. El viernes cumplimos 3 semanas de esta espera terrible. No hay noticias aún. Ya, no quiero más. Aquí seguimos esperando que nos den los resultados de la aplicación a Canadá. Así que esperemos que hoy día tengamos buenas noticias. Anoche dormí horrible porque pienso todo el rato cómo voy a llamar a la casa, que si no nos dan los permisos, qué vamos a hacer y todo eso. Así que solo quiero que se acabe esta espera y podamos saber definitivamente la respuesta para poder ver los pasos a proceder.
No hay novedades.
One day, we were with some friends when an email arrived from Canada.
Pueden ser protagonistas del avance de inmigración.
Claro.
¿Qué dice?
No entiendo. Algo de Afganistán. No.
And we keep waiting. Although the spirits were already beginning to decline. Even the Canadian flag, the one that reminded of us of this project all the time, became a nuisance.
Estoy perdiendo la fe.
El ñodo anda muy negativo, por eso no nos llegan los permisos. Está muy negativo. Hoy día sacó la bandera de Canadá. Un día más de espera. Vamos a ver cómo nos va hoy.
No pasa nada, ñoña.
Until one day, an email arrived with a response.
¿Qué pasó? Me está inmediato.
Yo no he dicho nada.
¿Qué pasó? Hay un mensaje.
Te lo voy a mostrar.
We didn't know anything yet. It was just an email in which they could approve or reject us. We just managed to laugh nervously.
Fecha, no puedo entrar, se cae la weá.
Oh, Yoko, pues podemos estar a minutos de cambiar nuestra vida.
Oh, conchetumadre.
Vamos a probar.
Vamos a probar, conchetumadre.
Ay, no sé qué decir. Tengo tanto miedo. No puedo pensar. Estoy muy emocionada.
Mami. Iñota tuvo su primer sueño con Canadá anoche.
Hoy día en la mañana. Estoy muy contenta. Tengo muchos sentimientos en contra. Mucho. Como que soñé tanto con este día, con este momento, que no sé, es como una cachetada de emociones.
Nos vamos a Canadá.
A stage was over. Everything we had done so far had ultimately happened looking at the screen. We had never actually seen our friends in Canada in person. We knew Canada only through the internet. Here, the dream was over, and now the time of reality began.
Drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday